Hello and welcome to another bonus melee. I'm Straz, and today we're going to be doing things a tiny bit differently. Instead of focusing on a single team fight, we're going to break down a game from the beginning when things started to unravel all the way to the end. Today's match is from the Enter the Storm tournament, featuring eLevate and Murloc Geniuses on Towers of Doom. In red, you have Murloc Geniuses, and in blue, you have eLevate. We're about to see the first team fight in this video as eLevate approaches from the north, getting ready to take a position on Murloc Geniuses, who are trying to take back the fort on their side of the map. At first, this might look like a good engagement for eLevate. After all, it's only a 3-on-3, right? Well, if you look at the bottom of the mini-map, you can see that Kerrigan really is kind of close and Zeratul just isn't. This means that realistically, in about 2 seconds, it's going to be a 3-on-4, and that's going to be a huge problem for eLevate. As we drop into slow-mo, we can see eLevate start to charge in. Rainer's gonna knock Jaina away, and Murloc Geniuses is gonna make a run for the DMZ as Kerrigan comes in to give some assistance. While Huckfu's Wailing Arrow was on point, it doesn't really mean anything as they can simply back off and reset the fight, which is exactly what they're going to do. After a half-second arrest, Murloc Geniuses turns it around and puts the pressure on eLevate. They're gonna focus their attention on Karazim, who's gonna drop really fast, but thanks to some sweet Jackie Chan moves, is going to survive. At the same time, counter pressure on Kerrigan is going to force Uther to Divine Shield her. It's now that Zeratul, Lord of the Smurfs, comes riding in on his vulture, just in time to watch all his friends die. Not cool with that fate, he tries to turn the tides with a Void Prism. Unfortunately for them, it's just not enough, as eLevate is going to be quickly dispatched by Murloc Geniuses, who are going to wipe them up one by one. Once again, I'm really not sure why eLevate decided to take this engagement. At best, it would have been a 3v3 in a really uncomfortable place for them on the map. Since they were so close to Murloc Geniuses' base, all Murloc Geniuses had to do to escape that fight was just back off. And really, there was nothing there for them to lose. Defending that fort isn't worth it on this map. If you watched the Monday Melee, you would have seen that our lesson of this week was basically don't die just to save a structure, or to try and save a structure, as usually it's just not worth it. If you look at the top of the screen right now, you can see that this is actually a pretty even game. Neither team has a huge advantage over the other, but that's entirely going to change right now, as Murloc Geniuses is going to get every set of shrines. In addition to that, they're also going to swing up right here and they're going to take boss. This is going to completely put eLevate on the ropes. Now, keep in mind that this whole series of events has happened because eLevate took a team fight that they never had to take. Heroes of the Storm is realistically a game about risk and reward, and a lot of people tend to think that it's not really risk and reward, it's just about how aggressive can you be and how many team fights can you win. Really, the only team fights you should be jumping into in the first place are ones that you know you can win, or team fights that you absolutely have to take because the alternative is losing the game. Even if the odds are even, that's just not a good reason to jump into a team fight. Do something else to get the odds in your favor and then take the team fight. Unlike before, eLevate shows a lot of restraint here. They know they're not level 20 and they can't take this fight, so they have to stay back and watch this fort fall. Now I get it, sometimes when you're watching the enemy team just completely stomp your fort into the ground, it can feel a bit like they're walking up to your house and lighting it on fire. But you gotta realize, sometimes it's best not to run into the burning building and instead play some Bloodhound Gang, save your water, and just prepare for the next team fight. Here at the bottom you can see Sylvanas and Muradin taking a camp down here, and this basically signifies that eLevate knows exactly what's going on with this gang, as there's no way that they would have Sylvanas and Muradin off by themselves if they really believed that Murloc Geniuses were roaming around the map with 5. Now, I don't believe that this was an actual attempt by eLevate to take this fort down. Instead, I think they were trying to bait Murloc Geniuses out so they wouldn't get caught off guard by a gang. Now, with the shrine spawning, you can see Sylvanas clearing this wave down here. This might seem like a really non-consequential thing, but it's actually a pretty big deal as it's going to give eLevate a little bit of extra vision. And as you've seen in the previous episode, vision can make all the difference during team fights, and there's almost certainly going to be a very big one right here, as eLevate needs to defend this if they want to stay in this game. Now eLevate has pretty good positioning right here, as Muradin decides to jump in and start an engage. Now this is a pretty good engage, as you can see. Everyone on both sides are in pretty good position, so this really is just going to come down to how well both teams play it. Now while Muradin has engaged here, the rest of eLevate is kind of sitting back and waiting for something to happen. Murloc Geniuses, on the other hand, is not going to wait, as Kerrigan pulls up to get Muradin in a combo. Before anyone else can react, Muradin is immediately taken out by Raynor and Kael'thas. The rest of eLevate finally decides to join in as Hakfu lands a hungering arrow on 3 members of Murloc Geniuses. At the same time, Zeratul comes in and void prisons 2 of them. While this effectively turns into a 4v3 and allows Jane and Sylvanas to get some damage on Raynor, he's going to be able to safely blink away, and once again, eLevate is going to be put into a bad position. Karen is going to dive after Zeratul to try and finish him off with her ult pop. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to now see Jaina pop her water elemental to try and get some damage out on Murloc Geniuses. At this point, Kerrigan is going to finish off Zeratul finally, while Karazim's ult does basically nothing to ETC. ETC, on the other hand, is in a great position for a quick power slide and dance, and as he slides onto Hakfu and Nesper, he plays his best rendition of Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. Karen is going to jump on them, and at the same time, Kalthas is actually going to blink in to speed things up a little bit. This leaves Karazim as the last man standing. Uther's gonna drop a hammer in his face, and the rest of Murloc Geniuses is going to quickly dispatch him. As Karazim turns to dust, it's GG, as Murloc Geniuses only needed a couple more shots on the core, which this shrine provides. Now that we've broken down that team fight nice and slowly, let's see why they actually lost it and what they could have done better. In my eyes, what happened here is pretty obvious. eLevate had their back up against the wall and were looking to make an incredible play to turn things around. Unfortunately, sometimes you can't wait to make the incredible play, you just have to make the play that's right in front of your face. Zeratul's Void Prism is just way too late, as is Sylvanas' Silencing Arrow. You can tell that they wanted to go in on a soft target here, but really that option just wasn't presented to them. Instead of trying to do that, they should have just jumped on ETC in the same way that they jumped on Muradin. Instead, they waited just too long to get something going, and by the time they decided to pop their ults, they were basically already in the grave. The thing I liked most about this game is it kind of shows 2 things clearly. In the first engagement earlier in the video, it shows an engagement that they should have never taken. On the other hand, with this engagement, it kind of shows the opposite. It was an engagement that they had to take, but for some reason, they just did not want to dive in as hard as they should have. That does it for this week's bonus melee. If you liked this episode, throw us a like at the bottom and don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to see your gameplay featured in a Monday melee, then please send us your replay at joshebgaming@gmail.com.